What's going on, everyone? Tyler Dunne, and I've got Edmund behind me again. He's our special guest for all these podcasts, and I think he knew that Jon Scott was making his way to the Go Long Pod because John, I feel like half of our conversations are usually about our dogs. Otto on your end, Edmund over here. You've got there he is. You got a picture of Otto over your right shoulder. I wish we got the real thing though. What's he up to this morning?
He's down there with Logan, his little brother now, 8 months old, who I think when I came up here was currently in the jumper, but he's now crawling. So it
Game
two
over.
sh two ships crossing between Otto and Logan around the lower half of the house. But Otto has been informed gates will be going up soon, so his free reign after 4+ years here in the house is about to come to an end.
Party's over, Otto.
Sorry,
Party's
buddy.
over. The gates are
Sorry, bud.
going up.
But the compromise is Logan's eating solid foods now to some extent and loves, like most kids, to drop them on the floor. He's getting like second dinners regularly now at the house of sweet potatoes or
Oh
green
yeah.
beans or whatever it may be.
Oh, I mean, absolutely that's such the plus side of having a dog when you have kids. Like Ed is just like a second vacuum. He just kind of if there's anybody eating breakfast, lunch, or dinner anywhere in the house, Ed is your shadow. He's right there. He's ready to pounce. He's a good boy, right? He's not going to steal it off your plate. He knows that
Right.
there's repercussions for that. But you know, if you're not done, if you don't finish your meal, he's ready. And I may or may not give in, and I may or may not, shoot him some alley oops from the recliner, and say, "Hey, Kobe, here you go, Ed."
Yep. Yeah.
So then, and then the
Otto.
kids start doing it, and you're telling the kids not to do it, and then you really can't because they're just using you as an example. I guess that's
Yeah.
fatherhood at the end of the day.
Yeah, this is a good teaching tool here because I would probably just start doing it and Logan would it'd be, up against the wall or something.
Work on your hook shot.
That's true.
You've got a decent. I want to say a floater. We played some basketball back in the days, Sunday mornings when we weren't. Well, you might still play. I mean, I won't speak for you. I'm old, archaic, and retired, but we had some good runs. And John Scott here, he is a bull. You're muscular, but you can handle the ball. You can get coast to coast. I loved playing with you. I feel like we had some good fast breaks, some good 3-on-2s going.
Yeah, those games were super fun. I was kind of getting a lot of the Bills media that was on the beat at the time together on Sunday mornings, and it was just a cool outlet. And to see the varying degrees, we had some really nice players, and we had some Mike Rodaks that were on the floor as well. And
Rodak catching strays.
but it was a good time. And I do still play. I play once or twice a week in a pickup game that I've been in, I don't know, at this point for 8 years. And, the shot comes and goes, but when in doubt, go to the post.
That's right. When the ankle, I was spraining it so many times, and I finally had it looked at. Two different doctors, and they're like, "Man, this thing's all stretched out. We can cut it, reattach it. You could rehab it for X amount of months, or you can just not play basketball." And that was like right when I think I was dating Gina, and we both knew early on, like, this thing's gonna move fast. We're gonna get married. We're gonna have kids. I'm already like hitting fast forward in my mind, and right then just quit, retired, 2016, 2017 maybe, and haven't played since. So maybe you can, pull me out. It'd be more like George Foreman back to the ring at this point.
It would be fun to do like a reunion game. Joe B abruptly decided to retire as well out of fear of an Achilles pop, and he was a really nice player as well. So it would be fun to get the gang back together again.
Yes.
If Javad ever comes back into town, anything like that, let's all come back together, have one little game. But for right now, I'm going to ride the horse until it bucks me. So far so good, relatively healthy out
Yeah.
there, and we'll just keep going.
All right, two final notes. Nobody gives a shit about any of this, but I don't care. It's all completely self. But there might be some people who care. So Joby, obviously he's tall, hell of a player. We on the way to the combine, we stopped at the Hoosier gym. Anybody can just go to the Hoosier gym, where Hoosiers was filmed in Indiana and play pickup ball. It was unbelievable. So me, Joe, Tim Graham, and Matt Fairburn, we did like some 2-on-2 there before a combine, and man, me and Joe, we were battling. I mean, it was heated. Ask Joe about it sometime. We were kind of like it got a little aggressive. I mean, there were some lines being crossed between friends, maybe some sharpened elbows. We were going back and forth. He can play, and maybe you know this. Guess the media member who has an unbelievable 3-point shot, like deadly.
Graham?
No.
Uh, he seems more like a banger in the post.
Yeah, yeah, he's a
Uh,
banger.
a banger. Still? Is he still with the
I
Bills
think
media?
so. I think he may still play. He tore his Achilles. That kind of scared me off too, because I was starting to feel a little sore Achilles. And this media member, he tore his Achilles, and he might be retired. Jerry Sullivan. Sully
Wow.
can hoist it from what I remember. I mean, we're talking 25 to 30 feet. He's got a nice little set shot, you know. He's probably watching
Wow.
those, Bob Cousy Celtic teams. Maybe that was his era. Yes, he can shoot it from deep.
That's I don't see it, but
I thought he
good
was
for
part of that
Sully.
group with you. Maybe not.
No.
All right, let's talk Bills. Some news, some big news. James Cook and the Buffalo Bills. The impasse is over. They have reached an agreement. Per spot track, they always are. Our good friend Michael Giannetti there does a hell of a job. The numbers are out. Let's pull it up here. 4 years, 46 million, includes 9 million as a signing bonus, 28.8 guaranteed. The average annual is 11.5. So we were talking a little before we dinged record. That seems to be like the compromise here. James Cook, you're a running back. We're going to give you a hell of a lot of guaranteed money. We'll see where that ranks here. The 28, it's right near the top, second or third, but the 11.5 is seventh. So his average is down, not exactly the 15 mil that was tweeted once upon a time. That feels like ages ago. I don't know, man. Like I feel like this was inevitable all along, and it's great theater. And everyone on the Bird app has fun, like disparaging James. Like this offense is way better with James Cook. We've seen it. Like we've seen the Josh Allen era Bills trot out, Frank Gore, Devin Singletary, God love him, has a ceiling. Zach Moss, and maybe Ray Davis is a bull. Sounds like he shed some pounds. Maybe he turns out to be a starter somewhere. But I mean, Cook has quite obviously elevated this offense. There's so many different arguments you could have with this, and we'll get into everything. But I feel like it was inevitable. We don't see it in Buffalo a lot. We don't see this is the first time that Brandon Beane's had a player holding out or holding in, whatever you want to call it. So it's strange locally, but nationally, this happens every training camp. Player wants money, right? He's in the last year of his rookie deal. He's staring down the possibility of a tag after that. He doesn't want to get used and abused. He wants to get paid now, as he should, because the shelf life for a running back is not long, as we know. The Bills are way better with James Cook. You want to send a good message in the locker room. This kind of reminds me of Howie Roseman and the Eagles and how they do business. Pay your own, reward your own, and it sends a good message. It was going to happen. I think that maybe the Bills were probably, and let's get your take on this to start, John. I think the Bills were maybe a little surprised how James went about it, right? Like he showed up at mandatory minicamp, gave us an iteration of the Marshawn Lynch. I'm here because I don't want to get fined. I like my money. And then he shows up at training camp, and then all of a sudden he's not practicing. And that was kind of the wrench he threw into this thing, maybe to get negotiations going. But it's done. What was your interpretation of this standoff?
It was interesting. So this time a year ago, or last offseason, I was of the belief they'll play it out that this Bills offense can operate pretty much the same, whether it's James Cook or it's Ray Davis or plug in another running back. But what we saw to James Cook last year changed my opinion there. I'm not of the belief that James Cook is just a plug and play because there's a good offensive line and you have Josh Allen and you're going to get the same sort of dynamic playmaker that James Cook is. I think that he has proven in back-to-back seasons the type of player that he can be. So that's where I changed my tune into the importance of bringing him back and finding some sort of an extension here. But as this played on through the offseason, I kind of felt like one side was holding on the high end. The Bills were probably in that maybe closer to where the number ultimately landed range, and Cook was going to hold firm onto that. And I kind of started thinking pretty strongly, franchise tag is really coming in the books. They're going to play this out this season, and then that's going to be the trump card that they have going into next off season. Should he outperform what the number maybe is now, or then let him go to protect themselves otherwise here. So that was kind of how I thought it would go. And to the path that this took over, honestly, just the past couple months, it was surprising. I really didn't understand the Holden
Hmm.
element of this because Brandon Beane is not someone who's going to be strong armed. That's just the way it's going to be. I just didn't see that happening. And the way Brandon described it yesterday was, I don't think that moved the needle. The thing that got them back to the table and ultimately across the finish line is them telling James and the representation, you got to get back to practice for us to get back to business here. And so the Bills and Brandon Beane always held all of the cards in this situation. But to your point about the overall organizational belief of the best way to operate is draft, develop, and re-sign. And James Cook absolutely is part of that. And now I think the numbers reasonable. I think both sides get, for the most part, what they want. I think there is some compromise there. Of course, the Bills would love to pay a little less, but you're rewarding the player for doing exactly what they preach within that building is we bring you on, you put in the work, you continue to get better, you're a great teammate and a great member of this organization, and we will ultimately reward you. And now that's five guys this offseason that they have done that to, solidifying this new core and continuing this message that started in 2017.
Greg Rousseau, Khalil Shakir, Terrell Bernard. Who am I forgetting here?
Greg Rousseau, Terrell Bernard, Greg Rousseau, Christian Benford.
Christian Benford, of course. And which maybe I feel like Bernard and Benford, especially, boy, the bang for the buck there, I love for the Buffalo Bills. You look at some of these other cornerback contracts, which Sauce Gardner is getting off of a not good season. Uh, yeah, this is what the good teams do, John, right? Like, this is what elite teams do. You need the quarterback, obviously. It all starts with Josh Allen. He is the sun in which everything else orbits. But you have to get these deals done ahead of time. You don't want to get caught up into a Dallas Cowboys, Cincinnati Bengal standoff for different reasons. I mean, if you believe in a player, you better pay him now because the price is only going up and up and up. So philosophically, love it. And it is interesting with Cook, though, because it did seem like this was the one negotiation that could get dicey, right? Like, and Brandon Beane is looking ahead at paying, other players, other linemen are going to be due some money very, very soon. But when we talked about it in the spring, I had to pull it up. I couldn't remember exactly what Beane said, but this obviously came up in our conversation. And I asked him, what's your philosophy on the running back position? Your buddy Joe Shane caught a lot of shit, but they weren't in position to pay Saquon all that money, like the Eagles or the Ravens with Henry, even the Packers with Josh Jacobs. If you're a contender, you believe you can go for it. I'd argue you can justify paying a running back. What's your philosophy? Here's what Brandon Beane said. This is back in April, late April or early May. It's really, what is their value to your team? What do they bring? Are they a two-down player? Are they a three-down player? Are they just average in the passing game? Are they a mismatch? Can you line them up over here like Christian McCaffrey, or you mentioned Barkley, like MVP type? What tier are they on? And there's very few that are on the tier of McCaffrey, Barkley, those types of players. The Derrick Henrys of the world. There's very few. But we still put a value on James Cook, as is well known. We made an effort to make an extension for him. We weren't on the same page, but we still love him and welcome him, and we've done that with other players. We've made attempts. We've made attempts with other players in the past. It didn't happen then, but they happened later, and so we're not opposed to paying a running back per se. I'm in for paying good football players and knowing what they bring. So very telling that he says two non-player, right? That's the knock on James Cook. Plays less than half the snaps. They don't trust him out there on third down. Harkin and Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry as players that are on that tier. I can just say, John, like back then, I know that those comments and that stance from Brandon Beane did not sit well with James Cook's camp. They obviously viewed him on that tier. and we're asking similar money. So, like anything, it's a compromise, and you meet in the middle somewhere. And it's probably a Bills friendly deal, but it's still a lot of guaranteed money. You're still paying a running back. You could say, hey, that money could be used on a wide receiver. Maybe you win that kind of game. You use it elsewhere. But I feel like McDermott, Beane, and the Bills realize that this is a game breaker within an offense that desperately needs one. Like you watch those Cook highlights, and yeah, the line is great, and yeah, he's a two down player, whatever. Put on the film, and what would be a 4 or 5 yard gain for most players, he hits the accelerator, and it's 15, 20 yards or 60 yards. There's juice to his game. I feel like if he's not like this 1994 running back, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, like you're not. I I get like the pushback. Man, do you want to pay linemen? Do you want to pay running backs? It's 2025. James Cook strikes me as a modern day running back that you're going to unleash on defenses, and you need some juice, man. Like you need some game breakers. So I love it for everybody, and they just had to get to the right number, I suppose. But how do you view James Cook and what he brings this offense? Like what is his upside and versus the alternative of maybe using that money elsewhere?
You do not trifle with explosive players in the prime of Josh Allen's career. You just don't do it. Like that would be negligence if you are the people running this team. People may say, hey, they're being negligent not providing Josh Allen with top tier wide receivers. But it's my understanding from conversations within the organization, Allen actually likes, and this is not a Stephon Diggs comment. It's just he likes the philosophy of everybody eats. He likes the way that he can distribute it evenly and not feel anything, or there's this just inherent demand to give the ball to your best player. I mean, there's
Yeah,
nothing
it's
wrong with
real.
that. There's plenty of teams that do it and do it wildly successfully, but Josh really liked the way that the offense was situated a year ago. But when it comes to James Cook, like this guy's a great player. You made it perfectly clear. He's not just like Ray Davis is a fine running back, but the difference between Ray Davis and James Cook is 4.4 speed. Is what James Cook can do once he breaks through the line before contact and give you that 15 to 20 as opposed to the 8 to 10. And that matters, especially when you don't have those dynamic wide receivers or pass catchers that go down the field. I would also say this, is it as much they don't trust James Cook on third down or they just have better options? Ty Johnson is a phenomenal third down back. Is James Cook an awesome pass blocker, pass pro? No, he's not. But you're also not paying him to do that. I think philosophically, I would like to see Joe Brady get the ball in the passing game to the running backs altogether more often. And ironically, the night Brandon Beane drafted James Cook, that's what he was talking about with this player. Not
Right.
his ability to be a number one running back on first and second down. He's a sub back at Georgia. They drafted him, truth be told, to be a sub back with maybe some upside with the Buffalo Bills. I'd like to see that. So I think there is still more to unleash. But to get the max value of this contract, I don't think they should change his role. To be perfectly honest with you, the biggest knock on paying a running back a second deal is how it will age poorly, maybe a year or two into the deal. Well, this is a 4 year deal. Maybe they can get out of it after three. This guy has low mileage and wear and tear from college because he was a second running back. He has low mileage and low wear and tear out of the first few years of his career in the National Football League because of the way that they have utilized him. And I think if you want to get maximum return on investment with James Cook and you feel comfortable, which I think a lot of people, certainly within the organization, do with Ray Davis and Ty Johnson, then just keep putting him out there 50, 60% of the snaps, maybe utilize him more in the passing game. I think that is the best way to get the full length and maximize this deal. And that's exactly what I would do. And at least this year, I think that's what they're going to do.
James Cook turns 26 years old September 25th. So you're getting him at age 26, age 27, age 28. You're getting him right in his prime. That's such a valid point, John, with low mileage too. So, and look, it's not the worst thing that he's not out there all the time,
Right.
right? It's okay that you've got a Ty Johnson and a Ray Davis to take some of the physical load off of him. And
As
so
a, as
I,
a pass rusher, would you be mad if a pass rusher is going for 50% of the snaps if they're getting 12 sacks? It
Right.
doesn't matter. The snap count doesn't matter. It's the production and what you do when you're on the field. Now, some pass rushers, the Bill system doesn't operate this way, but some pass rushers play 80, 90% of the snaps. Well, that's the philosophy of that team, and maybe that team needs them to be out there that much. If you do not need James Cook to be on the field 70, 80% of the snaps and take on the load that Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, and Derrick Henry do, don't force it. There's no need for it. And he's
Yeah.
clearly shown that his best way of working and producing is being in this capacity. I'm sure he'd be fine if they decided to bump him up to 70, 80% of the snaps. But if you don't need to, why do it?
Think it's also instructive to look back at the quarterbacks in the Tom Brady era trying to win a Super Bowl, like the quarterbacks of today in the Patrick Mahomes era are trying to win a Super Bowl. And we've done it here at Go Long. I mean, maybe folks have read it, but like Aaron Rodgers with the Packers, he yes, they had some weaponry. They're all second round picks, by the way, but like they needed I think the instinct, I should backtrack. The instinct when they lose to the Chiefs again, and I've done this myself. You lose to the Chiefs again, the instinct is like, release the Kraken, get him wide receivers, win 45-38. That's the only way you're going to get past that team. Maybe that's true, but there's other ways that you can maximize a Super Bowl window for your quarterback in the era of an all time great. Like Peyton Manning and the Colts, Drew Brees and the Saints, Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, like they all had to do it in different ways, right? Like Peyton Manning was not that great in '06 in the playoffs. I think his passer rating against the Ravens that game was 39.6 in the divisional round. He needed a pick six from Marlon Jackson in the AFC Championship game against the Patriots. Breeze. Like you go back to that Super Bowl, you've got an onside kick that you pull off. Jonathan Vilman made a great play covering Austin Collie up the field on 3rd and 11. And then Aaron Rodgers, like that defense, that 2010 run was unbelievable. A ton of pick sixes, a ton of turnovers. Howard Green smacking Ben Roethlisberger's hand. Nick Collins picks it off. Spill it, Pickett, spill it. Ryan Pickett, Clay Matthews crashing on Rashad Mendenhall. Huge turnover in that moment in the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I think like you don't want Matt Collins leading your team in receiving yards in another AFC Championship game. You need Dalton Kincaid and Keon Coleman, your top picks in back-to-back years, taking big steps. And they've been vocal about that. Like from the moment they lost to the Chiefs all the way through the offseason. You need all of that. Don't get me wrong. But the more you think about it, the more you realize like Brandon Beane is doing the right things and trying to maximize this window. Like, and go ask Dan Marino. Like the Dolphins could never really get him a running game or a defense. It's like all on his right arm. Like there's other ways to help your quarterback. And I'm sure Josh Allen is even a part of these conversations. And they've got now one of the best offensive lines in football. James Cook locked up in his prime. Those two top picks who definitely need to produce. And we'll see on defense. But man, I love just replenishing the D line and pass rushers and adding vets and rookies alike. And trying again to give your coaches different players who can maybe make Patrick Mahomes sweat in the playoffs. So I get the criticism of it, and yeah, maybe you're looking at it like, oh, that's money that could have been used for a weapon or a receiver. I mean, they did sign Josh Palmer. I think it was the second highest paid free agent contract at the position. So they did allot some resources there. I don't know. Like I get it. Like we can all sit here and wonder and second guess. I do think right now in the moment, the GM is doing everything he can for an all-time great quarterback. Time will tell. Like we'll look back on it, but I think if you look back at like Rodgers, Breeze, Manning, and those moments, what those teams did, it's not as easy as saying, "Hey, just go, write some blank checks for wide receivers."
Yeah, it doesn't work though. You can't patch every single hole, or you can't elevate every single position group. You have to identify the most important things, the biggest issues, which the pass rush has been the biggest issue that they've been chasing since they got there. I mean, that's just the reality of it. They've been chasing whether it's, let's see, Mario Addison, whether it's Von Miller, whether it's Leonard Floyd, whether it's now Joey Bosa. They've been looking for that, hey, this guy is going to elevate the guys like Jerry Hughes and Greg Rousseau and AJ Epinesa, and down the line we go. And they have still yet to hit on that one. They've retooled the interior from Quentin Johnson to Vernon Butler to Star Latulele to Deion Walker to Harrison. Like it's been this constant thing, and they've never landed on one that has produced results of like the cold front with Mario Williams and Kyle Williams and Marcel Darius. I mean, that was the last truly great penetrating, we're going to get to the quarterback defensive front this team had, and that's been a decade plus away. But they're always trying, but that's how you mitigate and slow down elite quarterbacks. That includes Josh Allen. We've seen it with Joe Burrow. We've seen it with Patrick Mahomes. We've seen it with Brady. You see it with everyone. If the quarterback has to speed everything up, then everything is out of whack, and that's the best way to beat potent offenses. And ask the Kansas City Chiefs against Philadelphia Eagles. It was not a reaction, the Bills' moves or anything like that, simply to that game. This has been their philosophy from the jump. And they feel when you have a quarterback like Josh Allen, he can elevate the pass catchers. That doesn't mean they're just going to always go bargain shopping or anything like that. But Josh Allen can't help the defensive line. Josh Allen can't get turnovers. Josh Allen can't cover people. So to me, if you support him with the running game so teams can't pin their ears back and just fire away on him, that's where James Cook comes into play, and that's where Brandon has chosen this offseason to allocate his resources. But don't think that he's neglected the position. I mean, shoot, in 17, they didn't really have a wide receiver, especially they traded Sammy Watkins and they go get Kelvin Benjamin. It doesn't matter if it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
He recognized the situation and was proactive about it. A year ago, they go into this, everybody eats. We don't have Stephon Diggs. We're just going to try to make the collective work. He goes and gets Amari Cooper. It didn't work, but at least he made the effort here. Don't think, and this is where I push back on certain people. Don't think the days of him pursuing a top tier pass catching target for Josh Allen are over. It's just in the way that the flow of the build has been right now, he's had to allocate his resources and money elsewhere. And it's worked, but I don't like, the one thing I will say is when he pushes back against the wide receiver thing, I don't like just going to last year and saying, well, we scored all of these points.
Yeah.
The AFC Championship game is a perfect example. Mac Hollins was the most productive wide receiver on the field, and that's a problem. And so to me, that's where, to your point, Kincaid and Coleman, they're putting a lot of eggs in that basket, and I think if one or both do not rise to the occasion this season, you'll see a different approach to pass catcher next offseason.
I just don't think Josh Allen should have to be like Herculean every single playoff game too.
Agreed.
Like he shouldn't
100.
have to be perfect. Like those Super Bowl runs for Breeze and Rodgers and Manning, like they had some help. There were games where they weren't A level or even B level or even close to C level. Like you got to have somebody make a play on defense. I'm probably the best play on that side of the ball in these playoff. Terrell Bernard on Mark Andrews comes to mind. That was huge. Outside of that, it's been
Taron
brutal.
Johnson's pick six against the
Great call.
Ravens.
Taron
The
Johnson on
Closers.
Lamar.
I mean, and
Yes.
that's it. But my biggest thing when it's especially with when these games have ended, in particular against the Chiefs' best players, their star players, and they have more star players, have been stars at the highest moments, and that's what has helped elevate them. The Bills, even when they've had all pro caliber players on that defense in particular, this is not a knock because it's a one game thing, but how many plays to change games did Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, Tre'Davious White, Matt Milano did they make? They didn't. And they're really, 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 really good players. I mean, they're great players. But Chris Jones made plays. Travis Kelce made plays. Tyreek Hill made plays. Certainly, Patrick Mahomes made plays. Trent McDuffie. I mean, you know who these guys are on the other team. They're the ones that ultimately are swinging this thing. And Dalton Kincaid could have been that guy ago, and he wasn't.
It always comes down to the margins. It does, as it should. Like we should be taking a magnifying glass and scanning it right over that Dalton Kincaid 4th and 5 play. I mean, that's really the difference between the Bills and the Chiefs in the playoffs. And I guess if we've got to be critical, like, yeah, and Beat himself has said this, like, judge me on like that selection of Kincaid and Keon Coleman. Like these guys, they've got to pan out because they have drafted weapons. They've done it. I mean, those are their 2 top picks. The Kincaid draft, they move up when there's that run on receivers. So Jackson Smith and Jigba goes 20 to the Seahawks. Quentin Johnston, who has not been that great, goes 21 to the Chargers. Zay Flowers, 22 to the Ravens. Jordan Addison, 23 to the Vikings. And then the Bills say, wow, we got to get up there. They trade up, they get Dalton Kincaid at 25, kind of a hybrid, tight end receiving threat for Josh Allen. And then the next year they trade down and they had, obviously, we've talked about it, a shot at Xavier Worthy, who told me at the Super Bowl he believed that the Bills were going to draft him. That based on his conversations with the team, he said that him and Joe Brady were like this. They like hit it off. They loved each other. He really thought the Bills were going to draft him and absolutely used it for motivation when they traded out of that pick. But it's not just Worthy. I mean, Brian Thomas Jr. looks like a star in the making if he's not already a star for the Jaguars. On a bad team was exceptional as a rookie. They realistically could have traded up. Like you could have said, let's part with some future draft capital. Let's move up and get this guy for Josh Allen. So, I mean, there's pressure on Keon Coleman. There's pressure on Dalton Kincaid. To you, you were out there more than me at St. John Fisher training camp. It seems like Keon, he had some great moments, and that's what we're going to see on Hard Knocks, of course, when it's sanitized and editorialized. And, hey, it's not just the Bills. Hard Knocks stinks. I mean, it just stinks since I don't know when they kind of made this turn. It used to be good, but yeah, you're going to see the positive. But there were some drops along the way too for Keon Coleman. What did you see?
He's been up and down, but I would say the inconsistencies are more at the front end. And this is the encouraging part. As the pads have come on and we've ramped up the physicality in practices, I think Keon Coleman's gotten better. He was actually awesome yesterday. You see these plays, especially on the boundary, where he is using his body and physicality to make contested catches. And it's even against guys like Christian Benford and other cornerbacks on this team. And that's what you want to see. I tend to think you might ride the wave a little bit with him just throughout his career, but you just have to take at face value. You're seeing improvements. And I don't believe he'll ever be a number one. I don't know if he necessarily has to be in this offense. He just has to provide something on, especially as an outside receiver, that they don't have. And so I think my expectations still aren't you're going to get 85, 90 catches for 1,200 yards from Keon Coleman, but I think that he can be a guy that uh, is a very good complementary piece in an offensive passing game. It's a collection of complementary pieces.
That's a good breakdown. I feel like it's an interesting dichotomy where you've got a receiver who can't get separation. The numbers are what they are. Dead last, I believe, right? When you look at the next gen, whatever, in terms of getting separation from that defender in front of him. But they knew that going in. Like that was the case at Florida State. But on top of that, he's also amazing after the catch. Like he's got some speed when the ball's in his hands with some physicality, with that basketball off schedule improvisation stuff. I remember Brandon Beane talking about that after the pick. Like they really like that about him. That after when the play kind of breaks down, he knows where to get to. He's an interesting player, right? I feel like that's a strange combination where you can't really run away from a cornerback. You don't have that part, but once the ball's in your hand, you can run away from a cornerback.
Yeah, I think the best I see from him is actually on the comeback route. Is he goes out 10, 15, comes back to the ball. He wins almost every single time that I see that. And that's where it's interesting because you'd think he'd get jammed at the line because of his separation issues. But if someone plays off or if he can drive through the physicality, dig and come back, that is a really great play for him. And then obviously they're trying to do back shoulders and fades to him as well. And those seem to be the two areas that he really, really is best at. And hopefully the evolution continues for him if you're the Bills because they need, even though I them as a group of complementary pieces, they still all need to elevate collectively to, as you alluded to, better support the reigning MVP.
I'd love to see Keon Coleman in the slot even a little bit. Like he could be a big weapon inside. Obviously, that's where Khalil Shakir lives, and you're paying him a lot of money now. I don't
And
know.
that's
Like
where
you
they
could do some
said
different things,
that's where they said Dalton Kincaid the night he was drafted. They
right?
called him a
Kincaid
big
too.
Cole. They called him a big Beasley, and just with the construction of the pass catchers, that's kind of been my issue. Is you drafted Keon Coleman? He's probably best suited as a big slot. You drafted Dalton Kincaid, and you've talked about from the jump the mismatch ability he brings as a big slot type guy. He doesn't have to be in line. Khalil Shakir is the one receiver that you've paid and committed to long term, and he's the safety net as a slot receiver. You sign Elijah Moore, who I would say right now is on the roster bubble, but he's like a slot type guy. He's a guy who wins with quickness and things like that. It's just, you have a lot of redundancy, and Joe Brady, it's on him to slide guys around to find the mismatch, but you just kind of know, like, you're not putting Shakir out wide. You're not putting him on the numbers. It's just not really his game. And so that's what the interesting thing is the dynamic of Shakir has ascended into Josh Allen's most reliable guy. Then you draft Kincaid, then you draft Coleman, and they all kind of would be best suited being in the same spot.
All right, so you're out there at St. John Fisher, now back at One Bills Drive. You're watching all of these practices, and this is why we like John Scott at WGRZ here, one of the absolute best in the biz. It's easy to stand there, see a play, see somebody make a play, and immediately draw grandiose conclusions, baby. Like, oh man, I don't know, not to pick on this guy. He could be really good. Dorian Strong, like future All Pro, Hall of Famer. He just made a play in this 11 on 11 or 7 on 7. Like, it's not just exclusive to the Bills. You go around the NFL, you're going to see fans and media, everybody freak out over one play in a training camp practice. It's inevitable. This goes back to the days of Vine. I remember being at the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, and we're all out there like a bunch of mindless stenographer drones with our phones, getting a 6 second clip of a one on one drill and feeding the beast. It's like the nature of it, and I hate it. But, like, that being said, you were there for the entirety. Give me a player that caught your eye. Like, yeah, you're not, we're not rushing to conclusions here. We're not saying, oh my God, this player, that player is going to be amazing or hot garbage, but you kind of add up enough of these practices, enough of these drills, enough of these moments, and you do get an idea for, okay, like this is a player who could factor into things in 2025. Who was that player to you, John Scott?
It's Matt Milano. And I think health has been the major hurdle for him, especially the past couple of years. Then they, interestingly enough, redo his contract, knock off a year, so he's now entering the final year of his contract. And to me, that was the Bills saying, "Hey, we need to see it. We need to see healthy Matt Milano." And it was Milano betting on himself, saying, "I'm going to be healthy, All Pro Matt Milano, and then you're going to have to pay me more than the 10 or whatever he's making right now." And he looks sensational. I mean, he looks like the All Pro Matt Milano that we saw years ago before multitude of injuries here over the past 2 seasons. And that's really, really important. I mean, we don't have to explain and do some dissertation on what peak
Hmm.
Matt Milano means for this Bills defense, but he is flying around like he's in his 4 years earlier, and pass coverage, attacking the ball at or behind the line of scrimmage, pursuit of the quarterback in the middle of the field. I mean, the guy is flying around. And it almost was oh, right, that's what that guy can do, because it has been a bit of time since you saw it. And you saw him progressively, very slowly crescendoing at the end of last season. I think the AFC Championship game was his best performance of the year. And the coaching staff supported that. Now he gets a full off season, and so many times you hear coaching staff and Brandon Beane and the likes of that say, "Hey, when a guy's not focusing on rehabbing and he can focus on his body and training the way that he needs to, it does so much for their ability to be the player that they can be." And I think that's what we're seeing here out of Matt Milano. And if you can get a healthy Matt Milano next to a hopefully healthy Terrell Bernard, I think the Bills have something that we have seen very little of, but that has the potential of being one of the best linebacking cores in the league. And in their both abilities to play the run and the pass, I think, and if the defensive front especially could do what they do and upgrade, that frees things up to downstairs. Milano is someone that unequivocally has been, I would say, the best player, not only on the defense, but maybe outside of Josh Allen on the entire Bills roster so far through training camp.
Holy shit, that was a fresh take. I love it. Going into camp, John, I'm thinking Dorian Williams is the time now, right? Like, is this when you make the move? I think the Bills at various points have kind of name dropped him as somebody who'll stick you. I mean, who's violent, who they like in the middle of that defense. Money is a valuable motivator. That's a good point, right? Matt Milano would like to get a few more millions of dollars in his bank account, but I do think we forget about those other 6 days of the week. Everybody plugging in the fantasy football lineup, gambling, or just being a fan of any team. You see those 3 hours on Sunday, and you just kind of assume if you're out there, you're fine, you're playing, you're good, and you don't see, a Matt Milano laid out on a training table with Dr. Frankenstein, working on this body part or that party part, whatever the analogy is. Maybe it's Sir Gregor from Game of Thrones. Like you're away, you've got all these people kind of working on your body, and you're when you go out on the field, even if you're getting shot up with Toradol, whatever, or it's a pill now. Sorry, you can't get shot up. And watch those smelling salts, guys. You're not yourself. Like you're not you, and also you're missing that practice time. You're missing meetings. Who knows during the week? Yeah, he's a player I kind of completely forgot about, to be honest, in
Mm-hmm.
terms of somebody who closes that gap between the Bills and the Chiefs. But he did have his moments in the AFC Championship game, and maybe we forget about him because he doesn't say 3 words. Has anybody talked to him at training camp? Has anybody
No,
interviewed him?
he does, and it's polite. He's like, no,
Right, right. I'm not saying
okay.
it's bad. He's bad about it,
Right,
but
no, but just for painting the picture for other people, it's not like he's like, I'm not talking to you. No, he's just, no. And I mean and you just hear people, his teammates say, I mean, he doesn't say more than 3, 4 words to Brandon Beane or Sean McDermott or Bobby Babbitt or anyone else. He's there to do a job and be a football player, and I think it's completely reasonable. I think a lot of people probably forgot about him because of the notable additions, especially on the defensive front and the cornerback two battle and the questions at safety. But who maybe would have thought that I think the potential of getting back old reliable might actually be the truest key to this defense taking a step forward.
hey, there's something to be said for being in those moments too. If you're Matt Milano, like you've been at Arrowhead, I mean, for on the wrong side of some iconic moments too. I think he was in coverage on Travis
You,
Kelce on the touchdown that ended
yep,
that game. So
yep.
those scars, you don't want all of your players, trotting out there at Arrowhead with the same scars, but a veteran with a little something to prove, who knows what it's like to be on that stage and fail, even if he's not saying anything. It matters in a locker room,
Yeah.
because I imagine like he's dying for that moment again, right? Just like Dalton Kincaid is dying for that 4th and 5 again. He wants the ball thrown to him. Uh, it's going to be an interesting year. Let's end here, John. And thank you so much for all of your time. I know that Logan and Otto and Heather, they need dad and husband down there, just as our 3 kids in here. I haven't heard a peep though, so things must be good.
Oh no, the
Um,
good or bad?
Good. No, it's good. Good. Oh yeah, silence is good. Give me. All right, we have to kind of look at the other side of the coin here. What concerns you then? So look, everybody's feeling great about themselves right now. The Ravens best roster in football. The Bengals got their receivers locked up. Even the Steelers are probably talking themselves into Aaron Rodgers supplying something at his old age. Then you got the Chiefs. You got the Broncos. Love what the Broncos did this offseason. The Texans defense is loaded. There a lot of different teams can talk themselves into contending this year in the AFC. So for the Bills, what would be an area that does give you some pause, some hesitation, some concern after watching their training camp?
Well, I mean, I would say we touched on it. Offensively, you are putting a lot of your faith in guys just being better, simply being better. And you're banking that Keon Coleman will be not just healthy, but Keon Coleman will take a step. And then you're also banking on Dalton Kincaid taking a step. And if they do not take a step, where does that leave your offense that really, outside of a Josh Palmer, did not improve the pass catching weapons. And then I think you invested a lot in the defensive front, but a lot of them are rookies. And then some of them are suspended. And some of them, like a Joey Bosa, have not been healthy for years to show that they can do it. So just because you added new pieces, that doesn't mean that it's going to be better, or frankly, even the same that it was a year ago. And hey, Tre'Davious White has been an awesome story. I love seeing Trey's personality back the way it was when you and I were around the team and things like that. But he still is a guy coming off a couple, major injuries. Yeah, he's further removed from them, but he's 30. He looks good to me, but that doesn't mean that he's going to be Tre'Davious White of old. And then you have two safeties that have been in and out of practices, and Cole Bishop was unhealthy a year ago, and he's dealing with injuries again, and he's a young second round pick. And just because he has a great athletic profile and the team likes him and invested in him does not mean that he's going to be a difference maker or someone that you can trust on in the back end. And people bang on DeMar Hamlin, but they trust him. And he doesn't make a litany of mistakes. He just doesn't have the ceiling in terms of the athleticism, I think, as a Cole Bishop. So I could go to almost any spot on this team and say, here's why I think they could succeed, but here is also why you're banking on some things to all go your
Hmm.
way. Now, the good thing is you don't need everything to go your way when you have the quarterback, the caliber of Josh Allen. I think this is still the best team in the division. I think it's still one of the best teams in the conference and the National Football League. But just like you can go through the Chiefs roster and anyone else, I can easily poke holes and have some skepticism at multiple spots that could point in the direction of why they could fall short at the biggest moments again.
Because you just know Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, even Lamar Jackson heated up at the end of that game. These quarterbacks, they're looking for the a sucker in that secondary. What did Patrick Mahomes do when Christian Benford went down? Where is Kyer Elam? And relentlessly force the ball to that direction.
Yep.
And yeah, I think the safety concern is real. Cole Bishop has missed a ton of time into both of these seasons. Like you can't get that back. Even when you do get him healthy, there's a ramp up period. And Sean McDermott's absolutely right. Like those two safeties back there in today's NFL, this isn't the old days where you've got the athletic guy and the thumper and they're serving their roles. Like you've got to be interchangeable. You've got to be, that had this telepathic type of rapport where you're not even saying anything, but you know where each other are going to be. You can't get that if you're not on the field. So, I mean, that's a premium pick. What I mean, a second round?
Second rounder. And I think we have gained amazingly. You could gain a greater appreciation for Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde as their absence has gone years and years further down the road because they did so many things that you, unless you are the greatest of football minds, would have no idea. Why is Jordan Poyer there? Why is Micah Hyde there? How did they get there? It's not just because instinctually as an individual they are a fantastic football player. It's because they knew how to work off of each other. And then you add in their rapport with whether it be Tre'Davious White or Christian Benford or Dane Jackson or Levi Wallace or whoever was there for a good amount of time, they had that built in. Benford doesn't have that with Taylor Rapp. He doesn't have it with Cole Bishop as well. Terrell Bernard doesn't necessarily have it with Tre'Davious White, and he doesn't have it with Cole Bishop. That back end, there's so many moving pieces, especially since they're such a zone-heavy scheme. You have to not just be able to communicate verbally, but you kind of have to know each other well enough to instinctually, just naturally end up all in the right spots. Poyer and Hyde were so elite at it that I'm not smart enough to fully appreciate it, but I think as the years have gone by and other players have been back there, you truly understand the top tier level from just a mind that those two were as
Yeah.
a collective beyond just them individually being all pro caliber guys.
And it is about January, not September. I mean, you think about January, those two guys were at times, beat to hell. You're right. And
Yeah.
so the fact that Cole Bishop is banged up now, it's a concern, but it's a long season. And your end game is getting one of those aforementioned AFC teams. You hope to get him at high mark with a number one seed too, and being ready to go then. John Scott, this was fantastic.
Hi,
WGRZ.
hi Ed. Hi Ed.
Oh
He's
yeah,
coming
Eddie, come here.
closer.
Where'd he
No, he's
go?
the other way.
Other
Yeah,
side.
buddy.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he always enjoys podcasting, don't you, Ed? Yeah. All right. Everybody out there, please tune in to John, Channel 2, WGRZ, bringing it. Fantastic stuff, as always. Thanks so much for hanging out.
Thanks for having me.